Public comment. I think there's no one. Yeah, there's no one on, so no public comment. Anyone want to change the agenda, additions, deletions, anything?
Looks good to me.
On to minutes.
I'm gonna shut my video off so I can change minutes as you guys make changes to those. Did you guys all see that Duncan had posted them online, and did you see them all?
I didn't review all of them, but I saw that they were all there. I didn't review every set of them though.
Does everybody want to, if anybody didn't already see them or review them, do we want to just show them where they are so that they can review them before the next meeting? Or if people are ready to move on them, make changes, recommendations?
The only question I had with what I saw, and this might have been before Duncan posted them, that 2 sets of meeting minutes had the same date on them.
Oh, I could have missed
Do
that.
you know if that got fixed? I think they were all labeled June 12th.
Oh, no. I just pulled my versions up, and I've got a 12th, a 26th.
So yeah, that's fine. They might have gotten updated since I had seen, Duncan showed me some paper copies, and
That's
like,
interesting.
oh, they have the same date on them.
Well, just to let you know, my electronic version copies that I'm just pulling up on my own computer that I didn't download from the site have the correct dates on them.
Okay,
so
great. Then I'm good.
Okay. Don't know what happened with that, but do we want to start most recent and work back? What do you want to do? I want to make sure I have the right one up. That's okay.
Do we want to review all of them now, or just want to show everyone where they are? What are we thinking? I don't
know if if people have seen where they are, then we can review them if people are ready to review them. But if people haven't even seen where they are and haven't reviewed them, then we can just.
I haven't reviewed all of them. I looked at the most recent 2.
I looked at a couple of them too, and I didn't realize that they hadn't been put up before.
Okay, want me to just share screen and walk through where they are so everybody knows?
Go for it.
Sure.
Do I need to? Are you good? Is screen sharing on, or do I need
Nope,
to do
it says host has disabled participant screen sharing, so you have to give me permission.
Go
button next to the screen share.
Yeah.
Where?
Right next to the screen share button, there's a little up arrow.
There's the screen share button.
The green one on the bottom that you just clicked on.
Oh.
no, not that, the arrow next to it.
Oh, that's.
Yeah.
You tell me when I can and I'll do it. I didn't hit the button yet until you tell me you're good.
Should be good.
Oh, I can share now. So exciting. Tell me when you're seeing. It should be the town website that it's landed on.
Yep. Front and center.
Okay. If you go on to, and we're on today's meeting right now, let me shrink down the agenda. If you go to the previous town center library meeting, you click back, you've got draft meeting minutes there. So you can keep clicking back to every single one and click on the draft meeting minutes to review them. Okay. Now, listen, I am not going to take personally any recommendations or anything that you guys want to do with these. Please realize I'm good with making changes.
So action item, or not an action item, homework item. Everyone review the minutes.
Oops. There was the website. Where'd it go?
Did it stop sharing with you guys?
Nope.
Nope, still looking.
Interesting.
You want it to stop?
Well, I was just looking at it like where it's not popping up that I have, just like I'm used to Zoom, but I'm looking for where can I stop sharing with you guys, and it's not wanting me to. So I don't know if it's some kind of permission that you gave that. Let me just Alt S it and we'll override it. Is it stopped?
Did it?
Yep.
Beautiful. Okay. Hard to override. It worked. So yeah, we can kick that to next meeting, whatever you guys, typos, changes. Now I'm going to tell you, I'm going to turn back on my camera since I'm not looking at the many minutes in a row. I did not go rewatch the things. I went from the notes that I took, like here were the basic concepts, the basic thought processes. And when I thought it was important to tie somebody to it when it was wanting, like Mike had some ideas he wanted people to consider, I put that there, but when it was a general consensus, I didn't really label anybody with it, if that was okay.
Seems reasonable. Yeah.
Yep.
Got a little review.
So we're good on minutes. I guess the next item is to discuss and review our draft of the short and long term repairs needed for the building. So what was our plan? Last time we had put together a list of a few things that we thought were pressing that we could address immediately. We were going to pass along to the select board. We
Can I
also
share
got-
screen again with you? I've got the list out for you.
Yep. And then we also
That's-
got another list from Duncan last time of just all kinds of stuff. More maintenance items kind of stuff.
Yeah, and is
Nothing-
this-
Nothing capital plan related.
Yeah, that was kind of my question. Is this list from some of the documents that we got from the previous committee? Is this from?
No.
This list was what you all directed me to go at, you know, I went to Duncan to ask him for short-term maintenance things that could what were people in the building requesting, like repairs that we should look at that we might not hold off on for a major project, but some of these things might tie into a major project, so that's why we decided, can you guys see the screen?
Yes.
So we asked Duncan to add on to his list this column B for category for like, are they what they're relating to so that we can group them together. And then he also had who provided the information or the feedback or the request for us. But we added this wait or proceed column to say, are there certain things we can proceed with right now and other things that we should wait on? So we were going to go down through this list and just determine what our thought process was, because what we found was just like, and I think you've seen the Front Porch Forum posting regarding doing some entrance maintenance repair work right now and not holding off, like pointing the brick. And there's some electrical issues right there in the entrance and some lighting issues right there in the entrance, so that we said, go ahead and fix those, along with like the downspout right there outside the post office that is bent and it's leaking and rotting the wood. So just some basic repair things that we said, go ahead and please move forward with, because the town has a budget for those repair pieces and we shouldn't hold off any longer on some basic maintenance needs.
I think Duncan has put out a request for proposals to get someone to come and do something about the entrance, so that is probably.
He put it, yeah, he posted it. Yes,
Yeah.
beginning. So,
That's kind of out of our hands now. That's perfect.
yeah,
Yeah,
yes.
So I guess
Fine.
let's go. We can go through this list. Do we want to go through it in person? My first question was, do we want to do it in person right now, or do we want to go through it?
I
Visually?
went through it and looked, and I'd say there's 40-something entries on there, and all but a half a dozen of them are things that would be addressed in the major overhaul and not
Sure.
things that would be easy for us to do. There were a few in there that I thought, the first page, number
You wanna go
13,
through-
says that the roof in the post office is leaking, which is something I wasn't aware of, and it seems like that's something we should address as soon as possible.
it goes back to protecting the asset.
Yeah,
right?
there's a few others, somebody wanted a screen in their window and a window wouldn't close correctly, and something, we could look at there, and big deals, but
So
but-
do you want to?
You want to sort them by category and then go
Sure.
down through the categories? Is that,
Sure, let's do that. My second question, kind of follow up or after I guess it'd be a follow-up question or whatever. What's our plan for these after we've identified them? I mean, I don't think that this committee wants to manage all this stuff, right? So if we identify these, who do we hand
we
them off to?
pass them off? Yep, just like we just did. Yes, 100%.
And do we, one of the questions I have, maybe. I'll just ask it. Do we have a company or an individual or something that, I mean, this is a large facility. Two large facilities that just generally upkeeps facility? Is there a facilities team for the town?
No.
No.
No, okay.
No.
So one of the, I mean, maybe, like, I think, browse through the list quickly as well. Maybe a
Can
way
I,
to cover just, something we can consider, and I think reviewing the list is fine, but like, maybe we just consider proposing, maintenance right? There's a lot of companies out there that do this,
Yeah.
that just generally takes care of the building at a
RFP for
small.
maintenance contract or.
Yeah, maintenance costs really standard, especially for public buildings.
Right.
Like there's a company that just generally upkeeps and takes direction from the leadership of the town. And so I think covering these is good, but the recommendation might not be fix these things. It
Right.
might be our
Get
recommendation as a
somebody to
committee
fix anything that
is we
has,
spend X dollars per year.
Yeah.
Find someone to fix these things and other things
And
moving
a
forward.
bunch of other stuff that happens,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Like the touch up paint, like the type of things. And I think we
Yeah.
set a budget. There's the real world scenario where we set a budget for that for the town. Duncan has that budget and he, right, uses the individual or whoever
yeah,
uses the company we
So,
partner with.
yeah. So if
against that
something
budget.
shows up, somebody complains, they go see if it's Duncan or whoever it is that is responsible.
It seems like there's a little bit of a disconnect now between everything. Everything goes to Duncan, it sounds like.
Yeah.
And that's, Duncan doesn't have infinite time to do that or
Yeah.
infinite
Nor budget necessarily.
budget.
Yeah,
or,
nor
like,
does he have the approval to be able to do a lot of that stuff.
Obviously, Duncan's not a facilities maintenance guy.
Yeah.
He doesn't have a truck full of tools. He doesn't have all the resources to do
Yeah.
that stuff.
There must be some, I don't know where the money comes from, but you know, there was talk about the soot coming out of the vents in the town clerk's office.
They've
So
seen
one
that.
day I stopped at the town clerk's office and just asked, and Linda wasn't there. She was on vacation. I talked to the other, I guess, assistant clerk or whatever. And she says, well, I think somebody came and cleaned them
Yes,
last week or something. So someone had complained about that. It didn't come from this committee. I don't know where the money came to hire somebody, but there must be some fund that's being used now to do those kind of small
Maybe we
things.
can formalize that. to
can I
get a little
explain the
more-
process of what's going on right now, so everybody's aware?
Sure.
There is a $15,000 budget line item in the existing current budget that they probably used last year's. They probably did it within the 6/30 time period. But there is also now new starting July 1, that same budget. They were holding off on doing a lot of things during this whole building proposal that was voted down in March. They held off for the past, I don't know, 5 years of doing a lot of this stuff because in case they were gonna gut the building to, you know, take it to the studs, then they weren't gonna spend a lot of money on existing maintenance and repairs. So like the cleaning of the vents, I mean, once they were given the green light and we had spoke to Duncan with this list and said we're gonna want them to start to do some of the basic maintenance, they started moving ahead with doing some things. And Jason Labar, did I pronounce it correct, Amy?
I think so. Jay Labar, yeah.
Jay Labar. He's the gentleman who's doing the stuff for the library. They also have him do projects for the town center. So when I met with both Duncan and Josh, and we drafted the information of what we've as a committee asked them to start going ahead with the entrance, the pointing, certain repairs, and making sure that we're taking care of the post office repairs that need to be done. They then immediately jumped on it, got it on Front Porch Forum, are reaching out. They have a local builder that comes in and does some repair work for them. So depending if it's below an RFP value, they're moving forward with those kinds of projects. And my understanding, we're happy to do so. I didn't see any pushback from Duncan and Josh to say, no, we shouldn't be doing this or we can't manage this, because they have Jay. And if the project is larger than them just hiring in a contractor, they're comfortable bringing Jay in. They're also comfortable with, if it's going to exceed the budgeted line item, going to the select board and saying, there's some unallocated, we can help them, direct them, unallocated funds, but Josh is totally capable of pulling from the budget the line items where he has room, like unallocated funds that are left over from the FY24 budget, the building reserves, that kind of thing. So they're not going to go spend $200,000, don't get me wrong, but if something exceeds his $15,000 budget and it needs to be done, they're ready to do that. So I'm not saying we have to micromanage. I think we're just trying to give them direction of, here's the list of things they've sent to us. Here are things we want you to proceed with, because we don't foresee it impacting what we're working on, or it's an immediate need that should be addressed, because even whatever we develop could take a year or more to implement, and like a safety thing shouldn't be held up.
So I would against that line of talking, I would propose to the committee that what we do is we recommend that general and basic upkeep is to the select board. General and basic upkeep is carried out. There's a budget for that. I think the select board reviewing what that budget is sounds right to me. And I would say this is out of scope of this committee then. In other words, it seems like it's handled. It seems like we have a process in place. It seems like we have budget in place. I think proposing the general maintenance and upkeep to large buildings, which is extremely normal thing to do, is carried out at will and at recommended priority level. We can provide them the list that we know of to inform them on that. And we just let them carry that out. And this committee then focuses on making the proposal for the capital plan for the building to secure the asset and maintain the asset.
Yeah, and there can be some back and forth there where if something comes up that it's a maintenance item that may get into the larger
Totally
scope,
makes
and
sense.
they have and anyone, Josh or Duncan, whoever's managing it, has hesitation about replacing X number of dollars worth of heating system stuff or whatever, because
Yeah.
it broke. They come coordinate with us, but for this other stuff, it seems like they should just go ahead and do it.
Seems like a good process, a good and healthy process in place, and frankly, it seems out of
Yeah.
scope for this.
To get
committee.
this out of our
but it-
hands and we can start
Yeah.
looking on the bigger
But it
picture.
does seem like they really needed from us, what they really needed was the kind of the emphasis on restarting this process and getting going on maintenance, because it sounds like, as Carrie pointed out, it was deferred for a bunch of years.
Yeah.
We're no longer doing that.
Yeah.
Great.
Duncan and Josh and everyone were like,
Don't do
okay,
that.
we've been in this habit of
What-
not doing stuff, doing the bare minimum. Let's not be in that habit anymore. We've kind of given that indication and direction to them, and
One
totally-
of the items that I
Yeah.
mentioned here, though, that may, we might want to talk to them specifically about, again, is the post office roof is leaking. Part of the original plan was to tear that whole roof
Yeah.
off and build a new one and so forth, so they may have been holding off and then they've made.
that may be one of
We
the
haven't
things.
made any decision on what we're gonna do there, but I think they need to at least make a temporary patch if there's roof.
But that's one of the things that will need our collaboration, whether it's, yes, temporary patch it or
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
We're considering doing a
Yeah.
full new roof, right? Like, I think that conversation is.
It's
needs
to come, but
yeah.
needs to happen, yeah.
And maybe if there's existing line on a few, like you said, a few line items that we know we might tackle, we
Yeah.
can note those on
Yeah.
the list we give them and say, let's do a
But we-
temporary.
But we should have some discussion about what the long-term plan is before we start doing the short-term fixes.
Yeah, I think what we say to get it out of our hands and to
Yeah,
focus on
yeah,
what I think we're
yeah.
here for is we say, look, there's a healthy process in place. Here's the
Yeah.
things that you should consider more temporary fixes on that we see on this list.
Yeah.
Other than that, do not hold back
Yeah.
on upkeep of the
Right,
facilities.
absolutely.
And we're gonna
Matt?
focus on the plan. Go ahead, Kara.
I agree with you, but there was not a healthy process in place. They needed our help getting that healthy process in place and set up, and we're not quite there yet. This last review of this list that they've drafted for us would be that. We've given them some minor things to start with because it can be addressed before, we head into the winter months and stuff like that. But by going through this list that they provided to us, we are then putting them back on a healthy track to start doing maintenance. And as far as them wanting to bring in and hire a company to do the maintenance moving forward, they might even ask for some guidance from us because they didn't have the time to organize it.
Yeah.
Have this kind of an open conversation to see which direction we should go. So they might be very minor maintenance things that it's not really our scope. But if the scope before us was telling them to hold off and not to do a thing, we need to give them a green light, but we need to give them a green light with some guidance. And that's the only part I'm seeing of
We're
why
trying
we're even looking at this.
Trying to jumpstart the process that should have been in place and kind of indicate the magnitude of stuff that they should be addressing and what stuff they shouldn't be addressing, and then we can hand it off and we don't want to get in the habit of every time there's a list of stuff to do,
Correct.
we're back to reviewing it.
That sounds great.
Yeah.
I think
So
it-
initial pass, kind of, we can go through this, we can either do it now, or we can all do it individually and we can compile it quick.
I prefer individually.
And then we can just kind of say, here, we can have like 3 levels of stuff that you should 100% feel comfortable just going after.
Yeah.
Stuff that maybe we coordinate on, or we kind of balance the long-term plan of the committee and what they want to accomplish, and then stuff that's going to be part of a capital plan, don't attack it.
That-
And we can kind of give him some guidance so that Duncan knows what stuff he can just go after and get fixed with no input from anyone other than, for Josh and finance, and which stuff might be painful to deal with, but is part of a long-term rehab, and so he should
Yeah.
not put a lot of emphasis on it.
And I
Does that
think
make
it's-
sense? And then once we get them
Thank you.
calibrated there, we can let
Thank
them
you.
run with it, deal with it.
That's
I like that.
exactly.
I like that, Kara. I like that, Adam. I
Yeah.
think that's right.
Trying to that's what I'm trying to think about, is like we're kind of calibrating the new process, and then
And-
we'll can do it. They're very qualified.
And I think that also on Matt's previous discussion from previous meetings about protecting the asset, that we got into that discussion. If you're ignoring water that's leaking and rotting onto something, then
Yeah.
you want to come at somebody with a capital plan, really? So to show the community we're stepping up as a committee, we're making some things happen, even if there's some basic maintenance things, we're encouraging, and we're wanting our building to be more welcoming while we address the major issues.
That sounds great. I agree with that. And offline, I'll say this out loud, but where my brain is, I'm gonna go through the list in much more, with much more critical eyes, and I'm gonna note what I think is priority. And
Thank
I'm
you.
gonna note what I think is patch, because we're gonna tend to it potentially in a larger effort. But those are just the two notes I'm gonna make. I'm not gonna go and say this is not worth doing. I'm not gonna go
Yeah.
and say anything like that. I just wanna say, from my opinion, pay attention to this first. This is, this is big.
I went through it in some detail, and I don't think there's anything in there that I would say is not worth doing.
Yeah.
There's an awful lot of things in there that are part of, there's water leaking into the basement. We're not gonna fix that
Yeah,
in the short term.
yeah, it's a big effort.
And so there's an awful lot of that kind of stuff that is part of the larger thing, obviously. And yet, if it asks people what's wrong with the building,
Yeah,
all of that comes out again.
That's right.
So there's an awful lot of that in there, and there's relatively few items that I found that we really feel we could address.
you mean like stuff, there wasn't very many you thought we could address immediately? Just-
Yeah, I
or
come up
Duncan
with
could
about
address or
like a
whatever.
half a dozen out of there,
Yeah.
and some other people might disagree and find a few
Have you-
more that are on
That's
the edge,
great.
but.
That's great. I think that's great, Mike, that
Yeah,
at least
I
we
mean,
have a half a
yeah.
dozen that they can proceed with. So I'm
Right,
thinking
exactly, yeah. I
positive
mean,
on it.
That's what that's what I saw. There's a few, and as I said before, somebody says a window won't close right, and somebody else wants a screen in their window so the bugs doesn't come in, and.
Well,
and
I'm
but
concerned.
The
I'm
the
con-
roof on the post office is the one I think that somebody
that's a-
really needs to look at
That's a,
soon.
yes. So I guess our goal for this is gonna be, it's not to create a list of, a comprehensive list of what
Yeah.
should be fixed, what should be maybe patched, and what should be not addressed.
Yeah.
Our goal is to use this list to kind of show
To unblock.
with
them.
what the committee's doing, what fits into those categories, so
Yeah.
that when Duncan or Josh or whoever ends up managing this, since I think the roles are shuffling around a little bit, right? But I imagine Duncan will be still managing it.
Right.
He'll know kind of what things, what buckets things fall in when new stuff pops up. That's our goal
Well,
here.
Well, he created the categories. Duncan created the categories. That's why he's who created the categories. So I thank him
Yeah.
very much for doing that. And we had decided before that we only wanted two on determining which way to go. Either we're going to proceed, we want to proceed with it right now because we're not going to impact it, or it went on the wait list because it's part of a bigger project. So we didn't want to delve deep into the details and tell them how to do it and what to do. We wanted to just give them, like Mike said, if there's 6 items, hey, proceed with getting this stuff done. It's not going to impact the major project we're working on. We don't want you to hold up. If it's a safety thing for an outlet that's exposed, go ahead and get it fixed. Just because we might rewire the whole electrical system down the road doesn't mean we shouldn't fix this immediate
Right.
safety need.
That's not how you guys treat your houses. Is that-
I
So-
do
oh,
I do
sorry,
think
go
that
ahead,
this list is going to be very valuable to us as we get into the larger programs.
Yeah, I agree.
Because
Yep.
I think Black River went and talked to some of these people before, and some of that is filtered down to us, but for us to get
This is
the
our list,
information
yeah,
from the
our
people,
niche.
even if they're saying, the heaters don't work very well in the basement, and they needed, whatever, all of that stuff is here from the people again, so I think it's gonna be valuable when we get into the details of what we're doing on the larger thing.
So it gives us 2 homework items, everyone to go through individually, and I think Mike's already done it, but
Well,
Um,
I'll look at it again.
you're gonna do it twice
Yeah.
very thorough, and then just, sort that list based on what we should.
Adam, there was one test that you said, or there was one thing that we could bring in a consultant, and I'm trying to remember off the top of my head what it was called, where you can try to push warm air or cold air into different areas and different pockets to do that kind of analysis.
Does the ceiling, goes to negative.
To do a vent, blower door test and all that stuff. Is that what we're talking
No,
about?
I don't mean for the, I don't mean
remember.
for the energy efficiency test. I mean, like, there are professionals out there that help with your heating and cooling systems to actually
Balancing.
balancing, thank you,
Balancing.
balancing. Now, I don't know how long out our capital plan and stuff like that is, and I don't know I don't know what the cost of a balancing is. I know there's people right in our community that do it for a living. So I'm just wondering if that's something that we might want to consider for the year or two before an actual construction project gets kicked off, to make it a more comfortable environment for the staff.
Yeah, we can, I mean, I guess I personally don't know the benefits of that. Like, I know, like, I know what it is, off the top of my head, but I don't know what the cost benefit, all that would be. I would kind of push that on to, probably push it on to Duncan to talk to someone and see if it's worthwhile, then have them come look at it and give us a proposal.
I think it was specific to the third floor was where the bigger issue was, and Amy or anybody else can correct me, but I thought it was about the third floor, and it either got really hot there or got really cool there. So it was between the room that you're in right there and the historical society rooms.
I don't, off the top of my head, I would say that it's probably something that's worth pursuing, but I don't know.
I think that probably falls under general.
Yeah, I would just say,
maintenance as
I would say
well.
upkeep and maintenance. I mean, it is reasonable to rebalance a system like multiple times throughout its life, and especially when you change walls and occupancies, so I think it's
Does the
reasonable.
heating system or the ventilation system have the capabilities to,
Yeah, and exactly.
actually
it-
change
maybe
anything,
it
even
can't
if
be
you
that.
know
I'm
it's
sure it
not.
does,
not.
because I don't think it's zoned heating and cooling.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
No, but you can close, I was explained that you can close vents and open vents, and you gotta make sure that there's some level of that going on in some places.
You have
So,
open, closable vents.
Yeah, right, yeah.
But yeah, I would say, I mean, that seems reasonable, but
Something to
we
look
can
at,
add that
yeah.
to the list of stuff that is like, squarely within the realm
General.
of
yeah,
just doing it right away.
Yeah, so I think that sounds like good homework, and I mean, my goal for the next meeting would make a recommendation. Or at least a statement, whatever we want to do to unblock them. And say, look, we are not considering this, here are some priorities or whatever we come up with. And we're gonna focus here, we recommend with certain larger
Yeah.
items that you like the committee to.
One of the items in here, someone said that they had cleaned the vents in the town clerk's office. How about the rest of the building?
Oh,
it's a
okay,
valid
that's
question.
great,
Yeah.
that's
yeah.
great.
Okay, yeah, and then I guess we can, should we invite Duncan to the next meeting to talk about this, or should we just talk about our list, and then we can hand it off to him, and if he has questions? Reach out.
It's him and Josh both, because they both met with me. So I think they're ready for it. They know about the list, they're ready for it. So I think we just hand the list to them that says proceed or wait.
Sure,
They're
and I'm
good to
sure if they have any questions or need any more direction, they'll, neither of them are shy, they'll
Yeah,
reach out.
so do we wanna take our look at the list here and put red stars beside it, the ones we want them to look at and
Yeah.
hand it to them, or
I
something
think,
Yeah, I
like
think
that?
we're gonna do it, we're gonna do that before the next meeting, and the next meeting
Yeah,
we'll
we'll talk about it,
quickly
yeah.
kind of
reconcile.
compile that and
Yeah. Sounds good.
reconcile, that's the right word, yeah.
Great.
Compile.
I mean, I think they're excited. They were positive when I met with them, so I think that's great.
Great,
That answers a big question for me.
and then, does anyone else, anything else on that, or is that, I think we're kind of
Yeah.
wrapping
capital
up, right?
budget
So
time.
on to, capital plan.
So, I was out of town, and last meeting almost missed all of it, got 10 seconds of it. I think the second to last or the last meeting I was in, we talked about everybody reviewing the proposal that was put forward for kind of the investigation, and ultimately there was kind of like a multi-year plan in there to get got to figure stuff out first. And think the ask was everyone review that, as far as I understood, as a potential path forward from, I forget what the company is, Mark, that I had proposed.
Sorry, I was gonna pull up the minutes from last time.
Or that we had chatted about, this was, I think, a month and a half ago, but, it was the colorful one. If you recall, and ultimately there's kind of a pre-design, design, pre-construction funding and construction phases to that. I guess my instinct is there's kind of two things we need to do first, is understand what we're looking at to
It's not easy.
consider, right? And then the other one is, how do we go look at that? Right? In other words, how do we investigate the areas under consideration to know what needs to be done or potentially needs to be done? That was kind of where my head was last time we all talked. I've been reading through the minutes. Doesn't seem like we'd gotten back to that. So I think that falls in this agenda item.
I think it does.
Yeah.
Definitely, yeah.
So I guess my ask is twofold. There's the mission statement, and there was the review that homework. I had scribed up a mission statement of sorts, or a couple sentences that I thought was the focus. I can propose that. How would you like to start?
I think we had, so. Yeah, we never reconciled all that too. The capital plan agenda item we were talking about tonight, not that we can't talk about it.
Yeah.
But just specifically what we were talking about, Kara, I think was more about long-term
Yeah,
repairs.
what Matt's talking about is the next item on your agenda. We should definitely hit that. I think the capital
Yeah,
plan discussion was
fine.
just about the fact that we were possibly gonna look at what the library had and use that, the skeletal structure of that, to start to talk about like how old the roof is and how old, different
Yeah, so
previous
what kind of we had
capital-
talked about, it wasn't a capital plan so much as a financial plan for a huge overhaul, as much as it would be an ongoing capital plan for the continued functionality of the building. So assuming we didn't need to completely overhaul the building, it was kind of to get a framework in place so that when we do something, we have a system in place to maintain it, to save money, or not to save, but create a
plan for.
reserve, plan with a reserve fund and a budget for like substantial ongoing maintenance and repairs to the building. So it would be distinctly separate from a capital expenditure that we would bond out. That makes
Correct.
sense? It wouldn't be part of the complete overhaul.
It
We're missing the middle chunk there. So we're looking at short-term stuff, which we just did with 2.
Yep.
And then 3 is like the
Very long term.
third step, which would be after we rehabbed everything. The rehab part is not.
I think, Adam, I think I interpreted it differently. I thought I interpreted it as understanding like how old your furnace was, how old your existing roof was. Before you propose making all the major changes to the structure, like, is your furnace 10 years old or is it 30 years old?
Okay, yeah, I can, yeah,
Yeah, I don't know what the discussion was, but I would assume that comes in the kind of after what are we focusing on? And in the investigation phase of, okay, we know what we're focusing on, what the hell needs to be done in that focus area?
Yeah.
And so I get it, understand it. I would assume that maybe the conversation is around how do we do that investigation? Is that what's being posed? In other words,
And how to track it. Yes, and how to track it. Like, once you start investigating something, documenting and recording it in an easy way for us to understand and the public to understand.
I think putting the structure of that plan together so we know how to document it is worth doing now. And
Yes.
then as we go through the process of looking at the bigger picture,
understood.
saying something like, well, we found that the air conditioners I've read in here are well past their estimated lifespan and so forth, so they need to be replaced. So we can
Document.
put that
Yes.
into the blank
Yes.
spaces that we put in
That makes
in there.
total
That's a better
That makes
explanation.
total sense to me.
Yeah,
But
Great.
that's what I meant by the skeletal structure of the existing systems that you have and the life of those, to then say, it's easily understood, we should be replacing this at the same time as this major improvement, because they're beyond their life.
Yeah, or
It
nearing
might
the end
work,
of
but
life.
they might die tomorrow, you know?
Yeah, so, okay, that makes total sense to me. Happy to talk. about it.
So.
So that's
we have
what my thought of the capital plan was, is
Sure.
the different parts of the structure, what the age of those parts were, and then as we look down forward, a replacement cost or whatever is gonna happen with the actual plan that we're coming up with for a bond vote.
So how do we want to talk about it, right? I think structure is great. I think there's certainly categories of work that are going to be done. And there's certain ways to document findings within those categories of work, right? We're going to have HVAC and utilities. We're going to have, right, foundation. We're going to have structure. We're going to have those kind of categories, which, you know, we can hash those out however we think is reasonable, and I think easily communicated and transparent. Is kind of the goal of this to talk about, to put together that structure? Is the goal of this to?
Yes, Matt, is that something that you are we're looking for any one of us to, just like I stepped up to do the meeting minutes, somebody to step up to create that structure.
I'd be happy to do that.
and I understand there is some kind of a structure for the library.
Yeah, I
Is
mean,
that
we can,
something that we
the
can-
library doesn't have a specific written capital plan, but we can think about the work that's been done in the last 5 years to the library, which have all been major structural and systemic kinds of upgrades, you know, from the basement mold remediation to the HVAC to the exterior painting, the roofing that's going on right now, the fronts. I mean, there's definitely categories that the library has kind of tackled one at a time, or a couple things at a time, that we could use as a model.
A lot of
Yeah,
those
Mike,
things.
Mike,
have a
there was
finite-
not that. Amy was gonna check to actually see if there was some kind of document that they were
Right,
using.
which there's not,
Track
which
it.
there's
There
not.
is not, so if we create one, they might be able to use that same tool, that same template for them too, so it'll be beneficial.
Turns out I do that for a living.
I thought you did,
Yes.
so that's why I'm like, Matt.
So our best case scenario would be that, our best case scenario would be to have some type of, some template or some system in place so we can go through and we can look at every part of this
Yeah.
building. We can.
When was the last time the roof was replaced? When,
Yeah.
how old is the
What is the
elevator?
total
That kind of thing.
lifespan of that,
Okay.
expected lifespan of that thing? Where are we at in that lifespan?
Yep.
How much it's gonna cost, and we can, you know, eventually
And
probably extrapolate that into a plan. That's
Happy.
perfect.
And even if it's a master plan on one page that then goes to tabs of the different, you know, the HVAC systems, that, you know, all that kind of thing, we can have that breakdown down the road. I think Matt does, I think Matt's laughing at me because that's exactly what my mind is envisioning, is something that is very
laughing 'cause
easy to move around in though.
Yeah, I'm laughing because it's like, I'm gonna go home, copy a sheet, delete everything, and then bring it here. So
That's what I thought.
That works.
And that's what we thought we might get from the library, but they don't have it, but they're gonna need this when we do it.
yeah,
Send
great.
them the sheet over too, yeah.
Yeah. So
So thank
happy
you.
to knock that out. That's
Great.
That's what we meant by a capital plan, trying to get it off the ground.
I will, what's in my head and what there's a question.
Mhm.
Not good at asking questions, but I'm good at stating their questions. What's in my head is create something with the ability to break out costs categorically with reasoning behind suggested cost spent.
Mhm.
So I'll put that sheet together. I'll probably separate it definitely per building for a lot of reasons, but primarily because I think we're gonna have to put a hell of a lot, potentially put a hell of a lot less money into the library building. It's pretty
Oh, leave the library out. Just build this for the town center, and just like you're talking about going in and cleaning out information, we can give this template to the library, because there's already a group that's overseeing the library that are doing a pretty good job, but I think this tool would be useful to them.
We want to focus on this and then we can leave it. We can
Yeah,
expand it, and we can either expand it or separately.
Great.
Yeah.
Easy as pie. And we have a floor plan, so I'll reference that for how I break it out.
Perfect.
thank you. So excited. I like a good plan.
I'll try to make it not super complex.
I mean, yeah. There's a balance, right?
I excel hard.
It needs to, it needs to be complex enough to be useful, but not so
Yeah.
complex that it's not useful.
Yeah, I'll make it.
User friendly.
Gonna have a Procore subscription before we're done with this.
So Matt was covering that next stuff that I think was great for him to talk about too, if that's okay, Adam.
Yeah. So we're on to, yeah, I guess
Updates
it's
on,
update on our previous action items. So yeah,
Great.
go for it.
I guess first thing is, at least for me, and I think this is actually my suggestion, I thought it was a really good one, was somehow, right, rehash a little bit why we got to the mission statement, or call it whatever you want, description of focus. But Mike's suggestion is, let's understand as a committee what we're trying to do and what we're focusing on. And so I wrote a quick blurb on that. I'm happy to share that. It's on my phone, which
Do you want to read it or you want AI read it?
it's one sentence.
To take the, take all the personality out of it?
It's one sentence. Yeah, so I'll try to be very monotone.
can you just pull the mic closer to you, Matt? I'm sorry.
Not at all. Of course
If
I
it's
can.
recording you, I want to make sure it's getting what you're saying.
So it's one run-on sentence, it's 4 lines. So I wrote, suggest a socially and financially responsible strategy to assure the library and town center buildings as assets for the town of Richmond to the select board with public awareness and buy-in.
Okay, now read it one more time, please.
Do you want me to post it on, do you want to?
Yeah, I'll email it to everybody right now.
Well, I guess there's no one,
That'd be great if you could, yeah, if you could email it, but yes, if you don't mind reading it.
Not at all. Suggest a socially and financially responsible strategy to assure the library and town center buildings as assets for the town of Richmond to the select board with public awareness and buy-in.
I need it one more time.
Yep. No, it took me a while to write. A lot of editing. Suggest a socially and financially responsible strategy to assure the library and town center buildings as assets for the town of Richmond to the select board with public awareness and buy-in.
I feel like there's a word missing somewhere.
Yeah,
Yes.
happy-
that's what I think too.
I wrote it this long at
Can-
first, and then I tried
Can
to
you,
delete.
can you post it in the chat?
Yeah,
Yeah.
do you mind if I
Adam?
copy? Oh, actually,
No,
you
no,
have the chat,
too
I
bad
think.
none
You
of
gotta
us are
post in the,
married to someone who like
You wanna
gets
read
things
that?
for a
gotta
living.
post in the chat.
Cause it just feels like there's some piece
It's like there's a
missing.
verb missing.
Switch notes.
Yeah, it's like an act, like you're proposing this strategy
I deleted
for the
everything.
building, what?
You're like, we gotta start over.
No, I actually deleted it, but I remember it. Suggest a financially and socially responsible. I just deleted it somehow.
I'm gonna write it in the chat.
Yes, especially and financially responsible.
Wow, man, this keyboard does not agree with me.
Technically, we are being recorded, in
It's
case
true.
you forgot it.
Nothing is gone.
I didn't know if he had started to send it in the email and it was there.
All right, it's close enough.
Okay,
I wrote it down too, so you can type it up. I'll give it to you. So suggest a socially and financially responsible plan for the town of Richmond to secure the library and town center buildings as long-term assets with public awareness and buy-in.
much better. And you changed strategy to plan, like it. That topped it for me.
Yeah.
But instead of
Strategy.
suggest, the keyword they like us to have is the word recommend.
Great, recommend. That sounds awesome.
Because that's what
Suggest,
they were
recommend, or-
supposed to do. We have no authority to make decisions. We can only make recommendations.
Perfect.
Can we decide to make a recommendation? We're allowed to.
I suggest you make a recommendation.
No, we have to take a vote to do those. So actually, it's a decision. I like it.
I think you look at it there, she,
You're the library and the town center building. Can you read, or
Please type.
Adam's typing the end of it too.
Can you
Well,
read my
I didn't know you
signature?
guys could see this. This is painful.
You can?
I love autocorrect. It'll fix it for you.
My hands don't really type. I don't know if anyone has seen my,
Yeah.
between being smashed with the hammer.
Did you post it in the chat?
I'm
you post
working
it?
on it here.
He's currently typing.
Okay, gotcha. He moved his hands away, so I was like, was he done?
No, it's just,
Yeah, however you just changed that wordsmith, it flowed, it made more
Mhm.
sense to me.
Yep, me too.
Great.
town center buildings as long-term assets. Is that what?
Yeah, that's right.
So it's a plan, it's both socially and financially responsible, I love that. It's a plan and it's to protect these two assets. Love it.
That's right.
Richmond to secure the library. Yeah, I think that's it.
Okay,
Close enough, buddy.
no, it's gonna be, I mean, I know it's all recorded anyway, but
Um,
here. No, any,
I wonder if public awareness can just be replaced with support. With long-term access with public awareness and
so just
support.
Support would encompass those two, right?
Buy-in's a lot less formal.
Yeah,
But,
I don't,
or with trends, with,
That is
yeah.
tricky too, because like support,
I think the awareness part of it is important, actually, that,
Right, I would keep the awareness, but I would change
Okay.
buy-in to support.
support, that's fine, yes.
Sure.
so, well, sorry, what was the tweak?
last two
The
words.
last two words, just change buy-in to the word support instead.
You want me to
We don't want
rewrite
to
it?
spend any more money than they have to, ha, 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 ha.
Financially responsible.
Can I email
No,
on
I was joking on the word buy, that was all. I love it, thank you, Matt, for completing that, really
Sure.
appreciate that.
Of course.
this?
So is that something we would ask,
An email from it.
we
I
would
have
ask,
it in an email, so I
Perfect.
will
Go
send
for
it
it,
to
yeah.
everybody.
Thank you.
is that something we would have, do we want to take a vote on that now? Do we want to ask Duncan to post it on our page on the website? Does, do people
I'm
still
torn
think about it?
because I love editing other people's work, so I'd love a week to edit it.
Okay.
No, I mean, shit. I'd say
We'll come back to a
I
vote next
probably wouldn't
meeting.
have worded it that way just because I just word things differently, but I think it covers every touch point that I would want to have in a mission statement. And I agree with the entire thing. In
Okay.
my mind, so I guess it's up to you guys. What do you guys want to do?
I mean, it
not my
looks
call.
fine to me, I don't know where we go with it from here, but.
I think to me, it's something to go back to and make sure we're focusing on the right
Something
thing.
we put up on the wall here somewhere. You know?
Yeah, right.
I'm actually okay with being transparent to the public and I support this. And if Adam needs more time to make sure he likes the wordsmith, you know, but I support us.
I was just busting that up a little bit. I think that at this, sorry, I should get out of the habit of doing that. This isn't the construction site. I think at this point, we get it out there, we post it publicly and we say, this is what the committee has decided on for our kind of our mission statement and our guiding statement and let everyone weigh in.
I think that sounds right.
It seems like it's a small amount of, it's a small product.
I don't think it's a community
Pretty-
weigh-in thing.
Well,
This
not
is,
weigh in, but to show people, to let people see. the
that's what I'm
direction
saying,
we're
post
taking
it.
and
That's what
going
I'm
in.
saying, post it on our landing page of what our committee is. Cause
Yeah.
the other committees didn't have the public weigh in on what their mission was. They just, if anybody weighs in, it's the select board and that's it.
Yeah.
We
so
need
this
to make
is-
a motion to approve this.
Do we want to?
Yes,
Someone-
I
can't
so
make it.
move.
So I will motion that we approve the draft mission statement that reads, our mission is we recommend a socially and financially responsible plan for the town of Richmond to secure the library and town center buildings as long-term assets with public awareness and support.
Second,
We got a motion and a second. Does any discussion? You guys want to talk about it more? Can I talk about it?
I like it.
I like it too.
I think it's
I
good.
think, yeah, like I said, I think this is like it's a small product, but this is a pretty
Something, yeah.
defining moment in our committee. We've kind of coalesced
another
around.
accomplishment.
So,
Yeah.
yeah,
Great.
cool.
And I just sent that draft wording in an email to everybody, so if you need to copy it to put it somewhere, it's in there.
Perfect.
But your motion is not a draft. You don't want a motion to approve the draft. You want a motion to approve
I'd like to
that.
approve that statement. I just sent it an email with the heading draft in case we
Okay.
did not move to change or not move to
Gotcha.
approve it.
Gotcha. I'm
Okay,
good.
further discussion? All those in
Mike, aye.
favor?
Amy, I.
Not I.
All
Kara?
right.
Adam, aye. Cool, unanimous
You
too.
did something.
You guys, I love it. We
We
keep
did
checking the
something.
box.
This goes in the minutes with an actual
Yes.
vote. Cool, this is exciting.
Great.
How do we want to post it? I think I think this is the first thing we have that it's clearly worth posting and making very public. How do we want to do
You mean you
that?
want to do a front porch forum posting? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I mean, is that,
Yeah, from our talk, 4 or 5 meetings ago, I think this
Yeah.
is a good one for that.
this is totally fits
I
that.
think that's an excellent idea, and it's also backed with the fact that you can also support the fact that the immediate maintenance list that Duncan just put out there that he and Josh are attacking was by recommendation of us as well. I mean, we're moving forward. We're having them do
Oh,
some
gotcha.
things. I think you build those two together.
All right, who wants to do this? I
Who's
can
really
put
good
together
at
a post.
writing?
Do we want to just put together a post and have someone put together and post it, or do we need to review it? How does that all work? I mean, it seems like having the entire committee review it.
I think
is
I put a
tired.
post out here a while ago and I wrote something up. Amy added the words that I'd left out. And so if you get 3 of us, then you get into the open meeting
Right.
thing,
So-
having maybe
I can-
having somebody look at it, but
I can put together a post. Who should I bounce it off of?
Amy, are you good?
Ha-
Are you good?
Happy to be the editor. Yep.
Thank you.
The teacher in me says, yes, give me something to look at.
So Adam's gonna do it and Amy's
I'll
gonna
put
Promise
prove
I won't
it.
use my red pen on it.
So I'm gonna,
Amy's gonna prove it. Who's gonna post it? Because one of you, Amy, are you
I can-
comfortable with
I
posting
can
it?
post it. I have front porch forum, so.
Thank you, because it coming from Adam as a select board member, people might go, select board
may
business.
not be quite the right, yeah.
Send me your draft. I'll tweak it and post it.
So those two pieces, Adam,
We're
And
just gonna
moving
we're gonna explain our new, what are we calling this? Mission
Mission
statement?
statement,
So
I-
charge.
I guess it wouldn't be a charge unless we get the select board to formally
correct.
charge us with it, right? I
Mission
Which we
statement,
could do.
charter, could call it our charter.
think that's the
Um,
same thing. That has like a legal
Yeah,
connotation.
Fair
with-
enough.
And
That's
are we,
kinda what-
it's not, I don't think we go with the word new. I think you might, you were the word used refreshed. We are not a new committee.
Yeah, refreshed or
need to-
redefined or.
We
whatever.
we need to stop saying new committee because we're not.
Yeah, we're not new. New iteration.
So however you want to say that, I'm
Okay.
comfortable with you saying something other than the word new, because I want people to know that, hey, we're moving forward.
You want to call it, yeah, what word is everyone comfortable with all these? Because there is a lot of connotations with the word.
For what it's worth, I've gone in circles on what to call these things for
Yeah.
15 years.
We
in
all know what they
business, and
mean,
it's
but it
all
wouldn't-
landed on mission statement every time, because I
No,
couldn't
call it
find-
mission statement. 100% agree with that.
Not new, are updated.
Updated, current mission, or just current mission
Current.
statement.
Like that. I'm good with current.
And that doesn't take away anything from the previous committee, it doesn't,
Correct.
great. So current mission statement, and then just touch on our recent maintenance plan, maintenance items.
Do And I think you just can refer to the post that's already there, so you don't have to list those out. We've requested that, town staff move forward with, some maintenance items that have been, placed on hold. Because they were. I don't want people to think that the town staff wasn't doing something. They were told to hold on them. And that we've green lighted them and they're moving forward and we're very excited. However we want to do that. Yay. Any other updates? I'm trying to take notes on other updates because that's the number one thing underneath that update section. Anything else that people want to bring back?
The other one was just the proposal from Camel Sump, can't remember the name of Camel Sump Design. Of if we wanted to, we had gotten the plan, and there's kind of like a write-up and schedule of that proposed schedule, let's call it. After Adam and I had walked the building with Art and reviewed the building, climbed into the attic.
Oh, right, Camel Sump Design is Arts.
That's
Art Plugo. Yep.
Yeah, and so I had sent that out to everyone on the committee. Mike, I don't know if you're on the committee at that time.
Oh, okay, I was a little.
Yeah, I'm very happy to add you to that email.
Okay,
Very
yes,
easy to
please,
do.
yes.
Actually, if you have it. would be
See
just
if I've got it.
Tacking them on. Adam's email bounced it back twice to me, but well, yeah, I remember that was but there was maybe we give this a beat, allow Mike to review it,
Mhm.
read the proposal. Essentially, he's saying, hey, look, there's several sections of work here. Here's how I would approach that. Here's my proposal to the committee. What we were talking about is reviewing that and individually coming back together. And I believe, and I don't fully remember, the ask we had to the committee is this something we want to send to the select board to read, review, and understand the proposal with the idea. So what he does, so he's somebody I worked with and
Yeah,
I really
yeah.
respect,
I think
and
we talked about it.
he redid the Waterbury
Yeah,
public buildings. He has a lot of experience in this work, and he basically put forward a proposal, kind of an investigation stage, this, that, and the other thing, with some cost estimates in there. Not cost estimates to
to do the whole work,
do
but
the
to do this
work,
part of it.
but for
It's
his, for
to
his
do the
for his
investigation.
purpose.
Yeah,
Yeah,
kind of,
and then
yeah, exactly.
Do the financial planning, do the management of the overall work that we decide to
Okay.
do eventually. He puts, it's pretty clear. It's high level, but it's pretty
Yeah.
clear. Basically, he proposed, here's how I would go about it. And he would be kind of that expert point on, knowing laws, worked with FEMA a lot, done all this, and he would be the guy bringing in contractors, obviously through us,
So
managing the
he
work.
he would manage the work, not decide what work got done.
That's right. He would be advising. It's essentially an advisory
Yeah.
role. His expertise, what I proposed to the board was, I actually think BlackRock was the wrong expertise to bring in. What we need is somebody who is a project manager in construction and facilities. And this is exactly what he does.
Yeah.
And so Adam and I walked the building with him, just kind of walk and talk, like, what do you think? How would you approach this? Out of the committee's agreement, and he provided this essentially
That sounds-
proposal
sounds
after
good.
that.
Proposal, and we'll send it so you can review it, but it's kind of twofold. It's the proposal to investigate the current state of the building and what our needs are and what's a reasonable kind of help us compile that into a reasonable proposal and develop a capital plan.
Yeah.
And the second part of his proposal is to manage the overall implementation of that plan.
If we should choose, right?
If we
Right.
choose to, we don't have to,
Right.
obviously, or we
No,
could do
it-
one or the other or neither or whatever.
We have an awful lot of paper, well, not enough, I don't think, but paper from BlackRock that they did.
Yeah,
Black River,
Black River.
Black River.
Black River, whatever. They, you know, I don't know, they did a lot of work there.
A
How
lot
much
these
of that is
same
useful?
things.
And I think, you
Yeah.
know, what he said, we were talking about that a lot with him. We were also talking, that was at the time in the committee where we were searching for information.
Yeah,
We said,
sure.
look, there's a lot of information out there.
Yeah.
We haven't seen it yet. We're
Yeah.
digging for it. And he said, you know, it's pretty normal. That would certainly be in scope of,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
review all that.
Yeah,
Where are the gaps?
yeah.
Figure out those.
I mean, I've spent a fair amount of time just trying to figure out what they were proposing as far as the flood mitigation part of it.
It's really unclear.
It is
And-
incredibly
And
unclear.
I think, back to our mission statement, one of the things we're burdened with is transparency and clarity here. So, because
Yeah.
we need to communicate with the public. And, that goes back to, I think, an architectural firm is not the right
No,
folks to go
No.
and do that work.
No.
The right type of folks to go and do that work is specifically a construction project manager, and the connotation of project manager in construction is pretty different than it is in a lot of other
Well,
industries. But they usually are.
I want to defend the previous committee, and you're gonna, okay, pick your chins off the floor for me saying that. But it was the right approach for what they were doing, because they were doing the vision or the dream big. They weren't doing it from the standpoint of how to protect this asset and maintain it and repair, replace,
I
and
think that's fair. They had a different,
that's
they had
a
a different
fair
mission.
point, yeah.
They had a different mission. So.
Yeah.
so
like,
that's all I want to say is BlackRock did exactly what they were hired to do, which was dream the big dream.
but is there a place for the architect in the project here at some point, or?
I think very
mean,
likely, depending
I
on
think
what
we
we
would
want to
certainly
do.
need an architectural firm to come in even from just purely from a compliance standpoint.
Yeah,
Publicly accessible building
right.
where necessary.
Yeah.
At bare minimum, just to
But,
make sure
yeah.
that that stuff works.
You know, my whole feeling as I've been reading through that is, it seems like they were just given, it says, okay, here's some rough things of what we want to do, tell us what we need.
Yeah.
And I think we need to drive the boat a lot more than that, and
Yes.
having someone that's used
How I'm
to doing
used to,
that.
how I'm used to doing things, and I think
Yeah.
how I think we all want to operate here is, there's budgeting levels. You don't necessarily know what the budget is, right? But you start with levels of budget and you say, what do these levels buy us?
Yep.
And you approach from that angle, right? And then there's a lot of conversation around, well, what matters? But ultimately, from the top level, that's where you start, right? Okay, let's understand the building. Let's understand the real things, the real problems here. Let's understand what we're looking at. And then let's, within budget categories or whatever, you know, whatever we end up calling it, how can we slot that work? You know, there's always famous 3 proposals, right? Cheap, medium, high. And so I think, you know, we'll kind of cog those out, but I guess, let's add you to the email. I think it's sitting, reading, understanding his timeline proposal, which has probably shifted a little right by now, but, and then come back, I think, I suggest agenda item in a couple weeks here as we talk through the proposal, talk through concerns. And, if we want to make, I think at that time, we'd want to kind of make a motion or decide to move forward with either, you know, do we want the select board to review that? And also, like, I don't know what that would look like, so.
My question is, I mean, this is, it's a pretty big expense, and
Yes.
do we have to bid this out to 3? I mean, the town's purchasing policy is we've got maybe one person who's given us an estimate of what this kind of work would be, but I think legally we have to put this out and let
Yes.
other companies bid on this as well.
I think that's great.
Yes, you do.
I don't
have
think
to.
that we are locked in. I know we're not locked in federally, like we are federally, and there's certain things where we have to go with the cheapest proposal. So that
Right.
doesn't mean that we are,
No.
Right,
but we
No.
do need we probably do need to bid it out.
yeah.
and
So-
get-
And again,
get
just for
proposals.
transparency, I mean, not that it is, but this is the guy that you work with, and we've got
Yeah.
his proposal, but
Sure.
you don't want to,
That makes.
you don't want to
total
go down
sense.
that road
That makes
saying,
total sense.
hey.
We can do both of those things. We can discuss at the next meeting, we can discuss our proposal and the
Yep.
merits of that proposal specifically and proposals similar to that.
Yeah.
And one of the things I also think guidance from the select board, and maybe this is a question to the committee, does it make sense to ask the select board, hey, this is a path, not this person.
Mhm.
Look, we think we need an individual like this to
Yeah.
come in and advise the committee and manage the pretty spectacular
And,
amount of
and,
work.
and this is approximately what it's gonna cost us, even if.
As my,
matter
even
who
if
does
this
it, right?
isn't the one we're gonna
as my
do.
dad always says,
Order
a study of
magnitude, yeah.
slightly under 1,000,
Yeah,
one.
Matt, Matt, I like that idea going to the select board, but I'm not ready yet in the sense of, I think that capital plan structure template that you're gonna build helps me in the financial aspect and the different components aspect, get a better, my mind wrapped around what we're then potentially gonna do with somebody like Art or somebody like that. I'm not into, I think the town of Richmond and other areas tend to spend a lot of money on engineering and planning, and then they don't, they spend a lot of money on that area and then they never fix something. It doesn't get done. And so I want to not get pulled into the rabbit hole of spending money that we're not ready to move forward with. Yes, let's hit the ground. We're ready for Art. We're ready, or whoever that's going to be. I'm going to use Art's names, for example. We're ready because we know what we want him to look at. We know what we want to move, we're pushing to move forward with, and these are the areas we want to investigate. We're not looking at moving to a vision like the previous committee. We're looking to fix this building. Right? And so I don't know if I'm ready to go to the select board yet with that. I'd rather see what you come up with. I'd rather review what Art has proposed, maybe have Art come in and answer some questions, like how it all works, so that the committee members, we can tell people on the street what we've heard, what we understand. We can walk people through that. We can be transparent, and then go to the select board when we're ready to be able to answer their questions and the public's questions. But I do
Yeah.
support that.
Yeah, I think that's right. I don't, after what you all said, I agree. I don't think we send like this proposal to the select board. Is it, are we capable as a committee of deciding we need expert guidance?
I
Yes.
think we have,
Yeah.
we can
Yeah.
decide that, but we still need, if we're gonna have to pay someone, we're gonna have to.
Yes.
Get the select board's
Yeah,
approval.
so I guess so Kara, I think I understand what you're saying and I agree. I think bringing in Art and poking some questions, even at a general sense of how do these projects usually go?
Yeah.
Yep.
Right? How do you deal with, or how do you interface with people outside this committee usually in this process, right? You know, he did Waterbury, he did that, so he'll have a lot of good knowledge and, you know, well, you know, what I found is this is it's powerful for me to sit here because I can tell X, Y, and Z story. It's not really a good use of town expenses to put me in these places, kind of just a waste of your time. And here's how I would approach this. And I think especially as we go out and talk to other folks and bid this out, that would be helpful for this committee, at least for me,
Mhm.
to understand, okay, here's how to look at this problem and here's how to look at the guidance we're trying to find.
Exactly. And that when we go to the select board, we are having a specific ask for a specific scope of work, that we understand what we're asking for, and that we're clear with them what our vision is not to go dream and do a $10 million building. So I think that's important for me to understand the pieces all that are getting lined up.
So do you mean, Kara, the idea like, okay, we've sat down and we've kind of mapped out this capital plan and we've realized the roof needs to be done and
Yep.
the, HVAC system needs to be done.
Yep.
Now we bring in Art or whoever to say, okay, if these are the two projects we've identified that have to get done right
Yeah.
away, how do we proceed in doing
And-
those?
and
Is
the-
that what you
Yes.
mean?
And the
Yeah,
basement-
yes, that's what I
Okay.
mean. We bring in somebody else's
I kind of
expertise once
envisioned
we,
it a little bit different. I can, I think there's merit to that. But I envision, I'm having a hard time wrapping my head around what I actually think the right path is forward with this building. Not in that I think we should either tear it down or rebuild it,
Mhm.
but just what the magnitude of what needs to be done versus what we want to have done and where that balance point is. And I think, personally, I think there'd be a lot of value in having someone who is an expert who can walk us through the
Oh, yes.
intricacies, who's not an
Yes.
architect, through that process. So I think
I
I would
agree.
personally like to bring Art in a little bit, not Art, we keep using Art,
Yeah.
but bring someone in
Somebody.
that is not an architect, but is familiar with that process and can help us balance all those interests and constraints and the financial constraints, the physical constraints, and all those interests.
Adam, I think we're talking the
Help us
same thing
lay out a
though.
Path forward. Okay.
Okay,
I
yeah,
think we
We're
are
on the
talking
same
the
page.
same thing. I don't want to limit him to just tell us how to fix these two things, but Amy's just
Mhm.
using it as an example. I
Yeah.
think we're gonna be much more open to what you're saying, Adam, but we gotta start somewhere. And I think that plan that Matt is developing is the start for me. That I can now open my mind up to what Art's gonna then help come in and educate us and understand what his role could be and would be moving forward. I mean, the community's already spent a lot of money on an architectural plan that they said thanks, but no thanks, and we don't think that was in the best interest of the community.
let me make sure I understand what you're saying, Kara, because I think I'm not sure I do. I don't think the committee has the expertise.
Correct,
To-
I agree with you.
Okay, to look at the building and know what to do.
I agree with you.
I also think while there's some expertise on the committee, there are funds available, there are financial implications that using an expert advisor, whoever that might be, is gonna say, look, here, to your point, Carol, like, here's this work set. We went and, whatever happens, we identified all this. There's a billion line items that you want to do. There's this money out there and this money out there available for these fall under this. Here's this
Yes.
is
Yes.
yada, yada. And so
Yes.
I think what you're saying is, as a committee, let's understand how we're going to move forward with an expert advisor
Yes.
to identify all that work and propose.
I think maybe you and Adam understand a lot more about what this person would do for us than the rest of us do. I wonder, I mean, we don't want to fund him for his whole proposal. We can't do that.
Agreed.
But could we have him come into our meeting? If we have to fund him for a couple of hours or whatever, if that's what it takes, to explain to us that are not as familiar with what his job is, what he might be able to do, he or someone else, with the understanding that he'll be open to bid on this when it comes out. It isn't a,
He signaled he'd
Yeah.
be very open to that when we walked through.
I think he's expecting I would assume every person that is in that line of work expects to have to answer those questions because most people haven't done this process before, right? And so I think Art would very, very reasonably expect to come in and
So he offered.
answer any questions you have or any of us have about what he actually is going to lend to the process and how and what part of the process it would make sense to hire him in.
and where does he go with what we've got the stack of stuff here and
Yeah,
a tour through the building and whatever to figure out what this building needs.
And he had said when we walked, whether that's us and or the select board, just let me know, happy to come in and talk.
Okay.
That was kind of
See,
where we left it.
Okay.
And I don't
Well,
want
think
you
that
to
would-
understand what I'm saying because I understand what Art's role is going to be. I'm sitting on the side with Matt and Adam here. I'm more so wanting to understand how Matt breaks down, we'll call it the infrastructures of within the structure, the systems within the structure itself, to see how he's going to categorize that and how we're breaking that down and how we're really looking at the asset we have and knowing the asset we have a little bit more before we have some expert come in and tell us how to rebuild the asset we have. That's the basis I'm trying to get a little bit more knowledge on, so that when we want to bring in that expert, which we're going to have to do, none of us are going to put our name behind, are not going to put a stamp on something here. We're going to have to bring in the expert, but it allows me to do the ask, me as an individual, understand the ask we're going to the select board with, exactly what that ask is, and being able to defend it and define it to the public. That's all the piece I'm looking for.
That makes sense, Karen. I'll throw that together. I think it'll allow us to kind of categorize all of our brains in the same way and be able to look at the problem in the same manner. And let's talk through that and get a line there. And then I guess my question for the committee would be, are we thinking like timeline on art? I don't, you know, wanna give
I
us-
think maybe we need to come back to the next meeting and discuss what we've done here
Great.
and then,
Yeah.
you know, hopefully
weeks,
maybe. the
2
meeting after
meetings
that.
out. Yep,
Oh,
2 to 3
End of
meetings out.
September.
End of September, have him come in and not for like a formal proposal or anything, but to answer any questions.
Right.
Mhm.
So
you know,
I'll email him and see his availability.
Yeah.
A
Yep.
month or so out
Yeah.
and just see what he
And-
comes back with.
And if not that meeting, the meeting after, so the second or third meeting from this meeting would be ideal for us to, you know, because whatever you present next time, we might have questions on.
So that
We
would
might
be
have,
the
25th of the.
Nine
Great.
25 or 10
Oh, we have a meeting on 9/11.
or 10-9,
10/9,
10-9
the
or
9/25.
9/25.
Great.
perfect. Matt, I really appreciate you and Adam bringing in somebody so we could have a better understanding. And I agree with you. What we didn't have before is somebody doing, they were kind of doing some investigation and they were kind of doing some financial planning, but they weren't the implement and manage the project people. So this Art could do it all,
There's a specific
from
skill set that comes along with being,
start to
you know,
finish.
having been the person that actually implements this stuff. There is a little bit more nuance that comes with that. And I think that's
Yep.
knowing we're going to scale this back a little bit, that nuance is going to become, or that knowledge is going to become a lot more important.
Great.
And you define little and I define a lot. So you and I are going to meet in the middle.
Okay,
That's
great.
great.
Clear path forward. I think that closes things out. Were you able to email Mike?
Yes,
that?
I emailed that to
So
Mike, so.
you can review that. I'm gonna read it. I'm gonna read it again. It's been a little while.
Yeah.
Yes.
And we'll convene next time.
Be-
Okay, so
Before-
homework items. I got my homework, or I have
Before
my
I
homework.
forget, can I
Oh,
go
go
back
ahead.
to meeting minutes for you guys on your homework items? The meeting minutes. Mike, I can't remember which meetings you were attending as a member and which meetings you were attending as a community member. If you
Yeah.
can just go back to those meetings and just clearly identify for me and I'll just put, you know,
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
I did look through some of the minutes here, and I said I was listed as an attendee and I had the same question because I have to see if I can remember.
just refresh my memory for which ones you were
I can
on the
probably-
committee.
I
Because
think
you
I
still
I think I
attended.
can
I
find
listed-
my resignation letter in my.
There you go. Okay, okay.
The select
And then-
board meeting. where I was
And then
when you-
reappointed.
It should be in the select board minutes somewhere along the line
Yeah,
too.
and I didn't do the research. I
Oh.
figured Mike might remember and just be able to email me. If you guys are okay with that, I'll make those minor adjustments to the meeting minutes.
I'll look that up.
of
Makes
that.
sense.
And the other thing
so-
on the open item list, Adam, that I wanted to have you talk about or be brought up was the energy audit and the grant that is being gone after for the structure by Jeff Forward that was brought up at 2 different select board meetings that this committee hasn't discussed yet. It needs to be aware of it and needs to be aware that we might have to do an emergency meeting when the application is actually released to the public to be completed by.
Yeah,
Jeff
so
and
there's,
Josh?
there's 3, I guess what is there? There's kind of 3 pieces to this. So the 3 pieces are that, there has been an energy audit in the works for some time. As part of the is it VPERT? Grant?
Probably.
Vermont
Yeah.
Energy,
Don't. I
Pro-
never
whatever.
remember.
There's,
No,
so
I
there's
thought
a,
I had, okay, go ahead. Yep.
I forget what the program is, but so there's ARPA money from the state that is, you know, a couple, like 60 million bucks specifically allocated for towns to do energy improvements to town-owned buildings. It's specifically supposed to be for energy burden communities. Richmond is not an energy burden community,
Nope.
but the timelines to create the application, implement it, or get a project put together and fill out the application and commit the money are so tight that there's a very good chance they will be able to commit little to none of it. And we are in a pretty unique spot. So there's a good chance we would actually be able to get the grant. So the energy audit is being done as a pre-requirement to apply for that grant. And so that energy audit, the audit happened, the report from that audit hasn't come through yet. And the grant would be up to $500,000. And so the timeline, the reason there is some requirement for it, might be a requirement for an emergency meeting is that the timeline for filling out getting that report back, filling out the application, and having the town submit the application could be tight enough that it would not overlap with one of our meetings.
Holy moly.
Yeah, and so it sounds like the state's kind of fumbled a decent amount on this. Is that your take on it, Kara?
They haven't even released an application for you to complete. So if they want to
Yeah,
release an
exactly.
application and say, get them into us within 24 hours,
Must
really?
be the same people doing the library grants, because we're having similar problems
Yeah,
with
so
some
it's
library
not
grant
unique,
funding.
and it is from a state where like things take, I mean, I don't think Vermont's unique in this.
Yeah.
Things take a long time. The fact that they would release it is taking a long time because the application's not even available. There isn't a physical application to fill out.
And
but
you've
there's
had
a
2 select board meetings discussing it, right? So that makes it a month.
It's been at least a month where we know that there's an
Minimum.
application coming, but they don't have the actual form
Yes.
needed. So there's a chance we'll have to fill it out and then submit it, but to Kara's point she brought up was a critique of the whole process last time, is that this is happening on a building that we're looking at substantially renovating and we're coming up with proposals for. We should at least review this and make a recommendation.
Mhm.
And
And,
so,
and I'll put it out there, Adam. My number one concern is that he goes for a grant to put solar panels on this building. That's the sole purpose of him going after this grant, and I don't 100% support that until I know what we're doing with the building. Because that's gonna look ridiculous if we're gonna have to rebuild the whole roof structure, and now he's saying the solar panels aren't for the post office part where we were gonna have to spend, I don't know, $800,000 rebuilding the roof to take the weight of the solar panels. And it's gonna go on the other roof part of the building, which I don't know what the age of that roof is, and you've got to take into consideration, if you put the solar panels up, do you have to take them down in how many years to put them back up to redo the roof? So are we gonna have to look at doing the roof where the solar panels are going? That's why I just felt like, wait a second. We can apply for things that we really have on our list and plan to do that are the priorities for energy stuff in this building if we're involved in the application process. But if the application process is strictly, this is a application that Jeff Ford's going to fill out with Josh, and they're going to determine what we're applying for, then what's the point of this committee?
yeah, so we'll likely get to review both the report and I guess it's not entirely clear to me based on what we talked about last time, whether we will be reviewing a proposed application or we will be, I don't think it's reasonable to expect that we will be filling out the application
Mhm.
based on the way the process is going, but I think we will have input.
Great.
And so it'll be our job to review it and make sure that whatever the proposed project that is going in is compatible with what kind of our view of the future of this building. And the projects to be done in this building are. Now, obviously, we don't have none of those are a sure thing. We don't have a complete plan, but
Mhm.
it's pretty easy for us to look at things and say,
You gotta know what's. gonna
doesn't
be
make
done.
sense to put solar panels on a roof that we will have to tear down versus it does make sense to take money to redo a heating system that only has 3 or 4 years left and we can move it while we're doing it. That was one of the other things that Jeff had talked
Yes.
about. I think
Yes.
makes sense. So
Mhm.
there was a good opportunity. If we get $500,000, I mean, that's not
It's
gonna
up
put.
to, it's up to,
Up to, yeah.
right?
So
So
if we were-
even if we get 100,000, that's good.
Free money, and if we can put it towards a project that we would have to do anyway, or
Yep.
that would further our goal of our mission statement, I think that's could be a home run. So
Cool,
Great.
the caveat to that is we will likely have to be pretty,
quick turnaround.
sounds like we're gonna have to be able to be pretty agile and do this quickly.
It's all right. That's
And
great.
so why I brought this up is we do have an energy coordinator who might be going down different paths than the committee. And we might have other people who have interest in the building that might be going down other paths than through the committee. So I've basically put the ask out to the select board that anything that is relating to this building should go through, we should be a part of it as the committee and have an understanding, even if we don't have a part in the decision making, like, yeah, somebody's just asked the select board to do something and they said yes and they're doing it. We just
We should
need
at
to
least
have
be aware
a
of
level of awareness.
Yep.
Great.
Makes sense?
So we can, yeah, I think the biggest thing is so we can raise the alarm if something someone else is doing is gonna directly conflict with
Yeah.
something we're gonna propose or
Yes.
our.
Thank you.
Great.
Do we have to, are we ready to move on to any last things? I'm
Yeah.
wondering, on the website, there are the two proposals for the work that might be done to the basement. From Northern Basement Systems and Twin State with waterproofing. Do we need to weigh in on those? Look at those? They're posted as related files on the website.
I don't think we've decided to move forward with anything there yet,
Okay.
right? As a
I
committee
haven't even heard about this.
or select board, it's the first I've heard from us. I saw them on there, but
Yeah.
it hasn't been brought up
Did
to
you,
the select.
did
board,
you
so-
want to know, did you want to know why they're on there?
Yeah.
Yeah,
go for it.
well, I mean, it's to do, mitigate like all the water that's coming into Radiate Art Space in
Yeah.
particular. And I know that they were talking, it's the stuff you see on TV about sealing some of the basement walls and some things to, make it more habitable down there. And I know that they've put out an RFP to do that work, and these are
Yep.
two proposals that they got back.
Oh,
Yep.
yeah,
And I
that's
think
right.
they were just like, we had that courtesy of providing to us. If we had any input, we could provide input back. My feeling is this is a minor expense. I
Yeah.
think they should go forward with it. I'm glad they're doing the RFP. I've got no suggestion on which company to use other than do
Okay.
as much as you can.
Yeah, and that was just my question is,
I heard it.
do we?
It's my understanding
weigh
that
in.
it's not, this isn't like in any way to address the flood stuff.
No,
That's
this is just
security,
like,
moisture.
let's try to mitigate moisture
Okay, that was my
in
understanding.
general.
I
Yes.
spent quite a bit of time going through trying to figure out what the flood mitigation proposal was, and I believe part of it was to dig up all around the foundation down to the base and coat the outside of the foundation with probably a similar kind of product that they're gonna put on the inside, so two coats is better than one, I assume, that if it isn't terribly
long as
expensive,
they're
I
on the
don't see
same
any reason
side.
not
Yeah.
to do it.
And I think this
Coats
is,
on opposite sides is very bad.
and I think this is just the Radiate tenant space. I don't think it's
Oh,
any
okay.
other, I don't think that
I
it's
have
any
to-
other part
I
of the
did- I
basement.
saw
think
them
it's
on there.
Just Radiate.
Saw that it was moisture, it was like moisture mitigation and assumed it
I-
was.
I haven't seen it.
Could be.
One
I'm
was-
pretty
one
sure it's
is-
Just Radiate.
One is for more walls than the other.
Okay,
One is for doing more walls than the other, and my recommendation, do as many walls as you can. If you look, I think the mats was for, you can see it's for 3 walls. And then the other one is for, it looks like just 2 walls. So 3 walls for 11, what was it? Where's my magic number here? Number. 3 walls for 14,000 or 2 walls for 11,000.
Oh, this is a membrane.
No, 14,000 and 13,000. Those are the 2 different prices. So I think it's worth a little extra to do 3. They had said it was the same thing.
yeah.
They were
Some
they both were doing the
installation.
same thing. What'd you say, Matt or Adam? Who said something?
Oh, this is, I don't think it's like a spray applied sealant. It's like one of those draped membrane things where it
Oh, got it.
creates a sump with a pump and
Mm-hmm.
all that. So it's really to mitigate like migrating moisture and
Weeping.
Yeah.
rain.
Yeah, because when it rains, it comes into
Yeah.
Radiate, so.
There are much better ways to deal with that than spending $14,000 in this, but they would.
You
tell
think
us
so?
Yes, this is the most Band-Aidy.
Okay,
Way to
then
go.
then
Definitely.
then that's perfect for you to go back and say that.
Yeah, I will review them and look at the catch is that the other ways you would deal with it are substantially more expensive.
Well, if it's, Adam, if you're saying it's like twice as much, or if you're saying it's 10 times as much, that's
10.
the difference for me. So,
Yeah. But one of them is dealing with the symptom and the other one is dealing with the problem directly. And so one of them.
right, so that's where we
structurally-
get to the question of, will dealing with the symptom
Yeah. And
be
there's a balance there. I mean, for
harmful?
$11,000, if it's gonna last 4 years, that's actually pretty cheap to make that space very usable for 4
Right,
years.
that's my point, is does it make this space usable and more comfortable and more,
Buy us time
Hey.
until we can address the issue.
yeah.
The root cause. Okay, cool.
Is
I will
this
put some
Band-Aid,
thought into that,
tell
so
us
when
if
it
that
pops up as,
Band-Aid,
like,
tell us if
working
that
with-
Band-Aid's okay for a few years while we're trying to fix the bigger issue.
So we move the flood plan.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Great, okay. I'm assuming that won't come back to us, right? That'll
I don't
be a
think so. I
select
think
board thing,
that's
so I'll
just-
make sure I'm.
yep.
No, but
Right.
you as the communicator between you and Josh can let him know your concerns, and I support your knowledge and whatever as a committee member. Yes, please take care, please move forward with what you think is the best interest. But I would, if we can do something to help for the next year or two, it's the investment that potentially is worth it.
I mean, that system will, it's a Band-Aid, but it's a long-term Band-Aid, so it's not gonna be like a 1 or 2 year thing. It'll work realistically indefinitely for all intents and purposes, based on the frames we're talking about, so.
And just to let you
Okay.
know, when I was there meeting with Josh and Duncan, the bus pulled up, the kids unloaded. There's an after-school program going on in there every single day.
Yeah,
So
you gotta
it's-
toughen those kids up. My son's going to that program.
So I'm just saying, it's not like they only use it once a week.
No,
Yeah.
it's used
It's a
every
well-used
night,
space.
so.
So thank you
Uh,
on that.
Cool.
I'm good.
So on the, just in the last item is for ideas or items for a public update. Are we okay with the one public update being what we
Mhm.
previously discussed?
Yep.
Okay. What do we got for agenda items next meeting? So far, we got,
Matt,
Yeah, Matt's capital plan draft.
Yep.
And reviewing the priorities,
Yeah,
or the
yeah,
which
Issue
things
there.
are fine for
Yeah.
That's-
the town center staff to handle
that's-
and. which
that's
are
called-
part of the
that's
budget.
called the workspace improvement document. That's what it's
Reviewing
called.
the workspace improvement document.
And meeting minutes. We're actually gonna move some of those next time. We've kicked that can long enough.
Also,
we got,
discuss the proposal we
Yep.
got and paths
Yep.
forward
Our,
on that.
yep, proposal, yep.
and then so if Q and A is not, that's not,
And I-
that's gonna be for either the 25th, the 9th.
Yeah, maybe next meeting as an agenda item in
We'll figure
the
out.
proposal, like when do we want to come in if we
Perfect.
do.
So we have, yeah. Proposal path forward, capital plan, draft. I guess there's capital plan template draft. It's not gonna be an actual capital plan. It's
Yeah,
gonna
just
be
be
a
a
template draft.
template,
Yep.
yeah.
Yeah, the template. We'll call it template.
And
Like
then
that.
review priorities on the workspace improvement document. Sounds very,
So we've
Cool.
got I've got 4 items on the agenda. Is that what you've got?
yep, and then we have,
Other than the standard stuff, welcome public, da, 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 kind of thing.
the minutes.
Yeah, I've got minutes, workspace improvement, Matt's capital plan, and the proposal for, looking at arts proposal. Was there a 5th one?
No, that is
I
it.
think so.
Okay,
And then, it seems like we're picking up some momentum, but, and we have the next 2 meetings. So I had it on my list of stuff to talk about, is whether we wanted to skip a meeting when we didn't have a lot of stuff to discuss. But, I committed to bringing that up, and now it seems like we have 3 meetings worth of stuff to discuss coming forward, so.
I-
But if at any
Yeah.
point, anyone thinks we need more time to get stuff put together and have one big fruitful meeting instead of a bunch of 45-minute meetings.
I think we can decide on not this next one, but the next 2 after that, whichever one we're gonna have art to might be that one to combine 2 together. That might be a good idea.
Okay,
One quick question before we go. Amy, are you able to give Duncan the times and the agenda for next time like you did last time, or?
Yeah, sure. If, do you want me to just take that paper or?
I have a ton of other notes.
Okay.
Want me to email it to you or?
Yep, why don't you email it to me right now or just send me an email and I'll give it to Duncan.
Okay, and next time, we can just have him print off an agenda so that you can just write the times on like you did last time and just hand it to him. I liked that. That worked out well. Thank you.
What's the date going to be? Is it, it's 9/11, right?
If you throw me that agenda, I'll just write it down here and bring it home.
You can try to read my writing if you want.
Oh, I'm pretty good. You'd be surprised what I can decipher.
Teachers.
Yep, we can read anything.
Can I just thank everybody, and I'm not trying to blow smoke here. I really appreciate us moving forward and that we're keeping,
Everyone.
accomplishing things,
Takes a minute to get the giant boulder rolling.
right?
Once it's rolling, you can't stop it.
Yep, exactly.
Well, and I
Yeah.
don't, and you guys are gonna laugh at me, but I don't care, just having the building have a couple things done to it. I'm like, woohoo!
Good to get more,
We're
it
gonna
really
fix
is.
the
good
light
to
bulb.
This
Get
feels,
momentum going. It gets everyone on board with things happening. People get comfortable with stuff happening and
feels real.
Well, and they start seeing visual change, you know?
Yeah.
So thank you, guys. I appreciate it.
Okay, yeah.
Elise wants to know when we're gonna paint the brick white because she likes the way that looks.
Oh, Lord.
Hey, listen, there was that discussion, just to let you know, when he said about painting the painting brick on the posting
Yeah.
on the front porch forum. They have paint on the outside on the post office wall there. And I said, we have to when you have your mason here, see if he can remove the paint there on the bricks there. And if it can't be done, then maybe that one section has to be painted and brighten up the entrance. And it's not a decision I'm making, don't get me wrong, but not the whole brick and not the old brick, but just the post office side that had paint on it. But I think they can remove the paint, so it's not an
I'm
issue.
not gonna make the call on removing versus painting, but if it comes down to it, I'll easily pick a color.
That it? We tied it?
Yeah, anyone else got anything? We good?
I got nothing.
We got a motion to adjourn. Anyone?
Motion to adjourn.
Second,
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Dave,
Aye.
aye.
Bye,
All right, thank
guys.
you. Take care.